like many countries at the time, France's judicial system was based pretty much around the moral beliefs set forth in the Bible, and this was no different in French Algeria during the 1940s when The Stranger was meant to take place. So during this time in French Algeria, most of the judicial system was quote-unquote secular French courts. And so all of the major cases went through this court system, and the only cases that went through the Islamic court were considered to be minor offenses. And so in The Stranger, Meursault's case goes through the French court because not because he killed someone, but because the action of killing someone goes against the beliefs set forth in the Bible, which is that you shouldn't kill other people. This is sort of interesting because on one hand, you have the fact that he killed a man, and in most places that would be enough to be considered a relatively serious offense. But in French Algeria, because of the belief that the Arab people were lesser than the French people living there at the time, the reason that he was treated so harshly for his crime was not the actual murder, but the fact that the murder went against the morals set forth by the Christian Bible. Also, sort of ironically, is the fact that the French courts were called secular French courts, but this is not at all the case because Meursault was convicted due to the fact that he broke a rule set forth by the Bible. So, although they're called secular, they're really not. And so, because of his commitment of this crime, Meursault is sentenced to death. And this was a pretty common sentence in the French Algerian courts during the time. For a lot of people, it was just like something to go watch. And that's mentioned in the book. Meursault says that his father used to go watch, or he went once to watch an execution, and it made him feel nauseous and horrible. But for most people, it was just another thing to do on a weekend. It was to go watch an execution. And so Meursault receives this sentence as well. Usually it was reserved for Arab convicts, just because due to the fact that they had a lower place in society, many of the people that went to watch didn't really feel like watching an Arab die was the same as watching a French person die, and so that's why people were able to watch the execution just as like some form of entertainment.
So kind of going off of what Julian said, how the Arabs are usually deemed worthy of a death by law penalty type of verdict. We see, the other character who is not an Arab, obviously, Meursault, received this death penalty for his doing. However, we have to question, is the court verdict even truly correct in them giving him a death penalty? And if so, is the reason that they give correct? And how, if what they're basing it off of is correct, if courts should be based off a heavily amount of feeling or emotion or religion even. So the first idea we have to even consider is, they choose Meursault to die. Why? They have him die because he does not act as society deems morally correct at his mother's wedding. From Camus 122, behaving at his mother's funeral in a way that showed he was a criminal already at heart. Now, criminal in a textbook definition is somebody acting illegally, defined as doing an illegal action. Now, Marceau, in this certain section, was acting morally wrong by society, seeming, undisturbed by his mom's death. Yet he did absolutely nothing illegal here until he killed the Arab, which would have been the illegal act, obviously. Yet, the reason this verdict is being given, the reason he is being sentenced to death, is because society already has this preconceived notion based off a set feeling of emotional morals. And anyone who thinks outside of that at all, even a little bit, would be considered criminal. Now, the fact is that even those that try and help him, such as the magistrate, end up trying to convince him that, your thinking is wrong. And we see this when the magistrate brings up God with Marceau from Camus 86. That was unthinkable. All men believe in God, even those who reject him, is Marceau's claim when he says he doesn't believe in God. And he states, okay, he committed a crime which was unforgivable. But the thing is, the reason, the forgiveness, that lies in the hands of God, whether God will forgive him or not. Yet, who is judging him? The judgment is placed upon by a person. And this is where the magistrate, is trying to help Marceau. Yet, it causes conflict. Now, obviously, we see, that the judgment of the court is wrong and unfair to one who is morally different. And we see that, maybe the court should adjust its idea of justice, one that does not discriminate, without, knowing the background or the situation at hand. And we see how our main character, Marceau, suffers from this discrimination, where a justice system refuses to accept a system which is different, maybe even more efficient. And we could infer that possibly this is based off of the religion aspect of justice system. For so long we've had this built sets rules from religion, and now here it's impacting governmental laws, judicial systems, where maybe it should not be, where maybe those two should be kept separate and let them run by each other. Therefore, they can operate more efficiently and serve an overall better purpose for the different types of people that would arrive for it.